My name is Elise, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the family's punchline, the background hum to my siblings' standing ovations. Harper, my sister, was the shining star, the gifted, Ivy League-bound golden girl. Nathan, my brother, was the tech prodigy, an innovative entrepreneur with a trust fund's worth of admiration. And then there was me, the creative dreamer, the one my father sometimes referred to, when guests were around, as the work in progress. Family gatherings weren't just dinners, they were performances. Report cards were passed around like trophies. Achievements were celebrated with speeches and toastings. When Harper got into Yale, they printed banners. When Nathan developed an app that hit 10,000 downloads, my dad handed him the keys to his vintage car for the weekend. But when I painted a mural in my high school that won a statewide award, they didn't even show up. The worst moment was a New Year's Eve dinner at my uncle's sprawling house. Chandeliers, fine wine, the whole scene. Every year, Uncle would hand out gag awards for fun. I thought maybe, just maybe, this time I'd get something that wouldn't make my skin crawl. Harper was most likely to become a senator. Nathan was most likely to buy a yacht for the family. When Uncle held up my award and read aloud, most likely to move back in and ask for rent, the room erupted. My dad burst into laughter. My mom clapped politely. My cousins chuckled, and someone muttered, "That's too true." It hurt in a way I couldn't put into words back then. I forced a smile, learned to take the joke, to swallow the humiliation like lukewarm champagne. But that joke carved itself into me. That night, I stared at myself in the mirror, red eyes, silent tears, when I heard a whisper in my mind I hadn't before, "You have to get out. You have to become something." The following years felt like walking uphill with a mountain on my back. I dropped out of college after 2 years. I couldn't afford it anymore, and my parents refused to co-sign loans. "We already spent enough on Harper's law school," my mom said flatly. My dad added, "Elise, art degrees don't pay the bills." So I did what I could. I took every gig available. Part-time barista by morning, freelance graphic designer by night, painting on walls, canvases, glass, furniture, anything that could turn emotion into rent. My first apartment was tiny, barely bigger than a closet. The windows were sealed shut, groceries were sparse. But it was mine. My rules. When I sent a photo of my studio to the family group chat, silence. No likes, no comments. 2 hours later, I saw my mom post a picture of Harper at a courthouse, captioned, "So proud of our girl making real moves." I wasn't just ignored, I was invisible. Then everything changed. A mural I painted on a quiet bookstore wall downtown went viral. Someone tweeted, "Whoever painted this understands heartbreak in color." The tweet exploded with over 150,000 likes overnight. Suddenly, people wanted to know who I was. My Instagram flooded with commissions. I kept quiet from my family, no calls, no updates. They thought I was still struggling, waiting for rescue. But I was building an empire. By 25, I'd licensed my artwork to 5 companies, held 3 solo exhibitions, and owned the building housing my studio. Yet, I never forgot the insults, the jokes, the moments I was overlooked. I still remember the day my mother looked me in the eye and said, "Not everyone is meant to shine, Elise. And that's okay." No, Mom. It wasn't okay. Because now I wasn't just shining, I was blinding. My revenge wasn't loud or confrontational. It was quiet, powerful shifts, a world so elevated they couldn't reach me anymore. They could only watch. After the mural went viral, I made sure I never forgot where I started. I poured raw, honest emotion onto my canvases, loss, rejection, worthlessness, the feelings my family had made me carry. And it sold. People connected. They said it felt like I painted their buried wounds. Celebrities bought my art. A hotel in Paris commissioned a lobby mural. My name became a whisper, then a roar in the art world. I didn't return home, didn't call. But I heard through relatives that Harper was struggling with the bar exam, that Nathan's app had flopped, and that our parents were selling their house due to financial strain. That house, the one where they once toasted champagne and laughed at me, came up in a dinner conversation. A wealthy couple was interested in investing, and the realtor described it as an old place with great bones, waiting for the right buyer. I saw my chance. 1 week later, I made an offer, cash, no loans, no questions. My name, Elise Monroe, was on the paperwork, but it was under the LLC of my studio. My parents had no idea. All they knew was someone had finally bought their house after months of struggle. I signed with a hand still scarred by years of being dismissed. I didn't evict them right away. Instead, I left the lease silent for a month, watching. Then I sent a letter. Dear occupants, as the new owner, I wanted to inform you that renovations will begin soon. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Thank you. That night, my mother called. Her voice hesitated, careful, cautious, as if she feared I might be someone else now. Elise, she whispered, is it true? Did you buy the house? I let the silence settle, thick and still like fog. You always said I'd move back and just to ask for rent, I finally said, a quiet smirk curving my lips. Guess I just bought the whole place instead. She whispered, but where will we go? I didn't answer. Instead, I watched from across the street as moving trucks filled with their belongings rolled away. My father looked smaller than I remembered, diminished by the weight of loss. My mother, pale and tight-lipped, cast a final glance at the house that shaped me, both raised me and tore me apart. But my revenge wasn't finished. Not yet. I transformed the house into something beautiful. I hired interior designers, restored its structure, brought new life to its bones. Yet I left one room untouched, the one that held my childhood. The same cracked mirror, the worn bed, the trophies I'd once hung, hidden away unnoticed. It became a monument, a silent testament to the power that had been born from that forgotten corner. And then I did something I'd never imagined possible. I hosted my first public gallery, show inside that very house. Invitations went out to the press, influencers, artists, and yes, my family. I didn't expect them to come, but they did. Harper arrived first, dressed in desperate luxury. Nathan followed silently. My parents entered last, overdressed, trying to fit into a world they'd never believed I could reach. They wandered past walls adorned with my paintings, portraits of faceless girls cloaked in grief, canvases soaked in scarlet and ash. Whispers filled the room. Journalists snapped photos. Then I stepped out, no longer invisible, no longer begging for recognition, in a tailored midnight suit. The applause roared around me, but my gaze was fixed on my parents, standing among the crowd. No longer hosts, no longer superior. You made it, I said softly. After all this time. My mother looked like she wanted to cry. I finished gently. We didn't know you were this worthy. She nodded, voice trembling. Valuable. Beautiful. I leaned in, smiling. You were right. I wasn't meant to shine in your world, so I built my own galaxy instead. They left early, but I stayed. That night, I stood in the very room where I'd once been mocked and signed a canvas in bold, bright paint, most likely to own it all. The show was meant to mark the end, the full circle, closure. But healing doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes, it whispers when no one's watching, waiting until you're alone again. A week later, I returned to the old house. Now my studio. It had changed, but the air still carried echoes. My bedroom smelled of cedarwood and possibility. The backyard, once cluttered with rusted lawn furniture and my father's commands, had been turned into a sculpture garden. I was sketching in charcoal in the sunroom when the doorbell rang unexpected. I opened it to find my mother standing there alone. She looked smaller, aged by grief, unrecognizable from the woman who once mocked my dreams. I didn't come to fight, she said softly, holding something wrapped in fabric. I found this. Thought you might want it. It was her fourth-grade art ribbon, a crayon drawing titled Invisible Girl Under the Sun. I hadn't seen it since I was 12. Tossed in a drawer, dismissed as cute, forgotten. I took it carefully. Why now? She swallowed hard. Because I don't know who I am without you. Without this house, without someone to blame. She paused, then looked at the quote on my last painting. A girl standing in a storm, her spine of glass, her hands open to the sky. Beneath I'd written, I was not built for your approval. I was born for my own peace. Her voice cracked. I think I finally understand what that means. I didn't hug her. I didn't cry. I simply nodded. Understanding comes late sometimes, but at least it comes. That night, I sat alone on the back porch, gazing at the city skyline beyond the house I now owned, beyond the family I'd outgrown, beyond the scars I'd turned into art. That's when the final piece clicked, My phone buzzed. A call from Paris. The Louvre. They wanted a piece. A permanent tribute to women once invisible. A testament to resilience. I stared at the screen and laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was surreal. They'd once called me a failure, a girl with no voice, no light. And now, the world was listening. The next morning, I approached the wall in the grand dining room, the one where my family's portrait had hung for years, where I'd always been excluded. I paused, staring at the faded nail. Then I hung my own photo of me, not as a child, not with my parents, but on the cover of Forbes Women, Elise Monroe, the girl who turned mockery into millions. Beneath it, I added a handwritten note. They called me most likely to fail. So I bought the walls they mocked me in. I walked away, not in anger or pain, but in power. True revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it just smiles from the top, and from that height, I finally saw clearly. Everything I'd been told I couldn't be, everything I'd been made to feel, had only fueled the fire that built my empire.